Hello, welcome back to my channel. Okay guys, ever wonder what it's like to be robbed in the same place twice? Yeah, me too. So if you're interested or you're curious, keep on watching. Okay, so if you're wondering, this is another story time. This is going to be about the second bank robbery I've been through. So I'm going to get right into the story. If you want to know the layout of the actual branch, you'll have to watch my previous video and I explained the whole layout. So anyway, this was another regular day. I was at my teller station. There was one customer service rep, the same customer service rep who ran screaming all the way to the lunchroom in the first robbery, and then there was my branch manager, and she was in her office. The other customer service rep was out, and the second teller that should have been there with me was also out. So it was just the three of us. So I'm working, I'm doing whatever I used to do, and I hear the customer service rep screaming at this guy. And I'm like, okay, so I immediately my focus went to her and what was going on. And she was screaming at him, "Can't bring that in, sir. You can't bring that in, sir. You can't." And she was like almost in hysterics. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why would you? Obviously, as a teller, as someone who works in a bank, you have to be really, really cognizant of who is coming into the bank. But I just didn't understand. He didn't look at a glance like he was dangerous, but she was screaming. I don't know, I guess she got a bad feeling and she was just screaming for him to get out or to leave his briefcase that looked like a really cheap piece of luggage. It looked like it belonged to a set of a really, really cheap luggage set. It was like one of the carry-ons with a little envelope pocket in the front, and it was like grayish. It was just really cheap and ugly. So as he was walking back out, because he was like, okay, he left his bag right in the front where I could see it, and of course I didn't know what was in it. So before he could come back in, and I did take a look at him, he had wasn't a weird hat, it was a fisherman's hat, you know, the one with the lures and what usually older gentlemen wear to go fishing, which I thought was kind of odd because he had a dress blazer that was way too big for him, a t-shirt, really large pants, jean-like, that were way too big for him, and some goofy looking sneakers on. So he looked odd, but just because someone looks odd doesn't mean that they're dangerous. So before he could actually step back in, what did Madam Screams-a-Lot do? She ran all the way to the kitchen, screaming and crying. I'm like, what? Are you effing kidding me? So the branch manager, realizing what was going on, she's like, what is this commotion? She steps out. And before I could even say, hey, you know, how can I help you? So customer service rep, Madam Screams-a-Lot, is in the back, which if this guy was dangerous, I mean, or if he had been dangerous enough to just pull out whatever he had and shoot all of us, we possibly could have all died right then and there because of her once again. But anyway, the branch manager comes out of her office and she's like, hey sir, how can I help you? So he's like, well, I need to speak with you in your office. And I was like, oh my gosh. So then I started getting a really bad feeling because obviously if you need help, you just say what you need and you don't really need to enter someone's office to do that. So she's like, no, this is actually my desk right here. She was really savvy and she was just going with the blows. And she's like, no, this is my desk. I was just in the branch manager's office for such and such. So not only did she cover herself by saying she wasn't the branch manager, but she said that her desk, which was the other customer service rep's desk, was hers. So he sat there with her and I couldn't hear what they were saying. Meanwhile, you know, the customers are coming through the drive-thru. No lobby traffic, thank God, no lobby traffic for what seemed like a bajillion hours, but there was no lobby traffic. So, you know, the drive-thru people are coming through and I didn't know what to do. So I was just taking care of the clients like I normally did. I was just afraid that, you know, my branch manager was sitting at the desk, and when you sat at the desk, the customer back is towards the teller line. So I was so deathly afraid that Madam Screams a Lot was going to come out and cause another commotion, or that he thought that I was doing something funny behind the teller line and was going to jump over and shoot me and shoot my branch manager and then go back and kill Madam Screams a Lot. So I was a frazzled, nervous wreck. So as I kept taking care of the clients, the phone kept ringing, and it was from the other branches, you know, asking, hey, are you okay? I don't know how they knew. I guess the alarm, when I hit the alarm, and I think may have hit an alarm, and so the police were on their way, which they couldn't have come quick enough, and I said no. So I hung up the phone. Meanwhile, I'm getting 20,000 calls from all these branches, and they're asking me if I'm okay. How many ways can you say no? Like, no? 9? Absolutely not. I didn't want to talk too much because he was sitting right there, and I didn't want him to think that I was doing anything weird behind his back, which I had already done it. I had already called the cops. So the conversation was getting more heated between the guy and my branch manager, and I was like, oh my God, I was on pins and needles. So I see an Orlando, Orange County Sheriff's police car drive in. Now, and I was like, please God, please don't let him see that police car. Now, this was a female cop. Thank you for female cops who are actually more intelligent than the male cops, or who have more common sense. Thank you. Because if not for her, I don't know what would have happened. But anyway, she pulls in and she comes around the back. Thank you for coming around the back. She comes around the back and she comes to my window, and I'm deathly afraid. The phone keeps ringing. I had to just take it off the hook because they would not stop calling and asking me the same question. Are you okay? Unbelievable. So she comes by the teller window, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm trying to explain to her. I was afraid to hit the intercom to speak because I thought he would hear. But I was like, you know what? Screw it. I have to let her know what's going on. So I hit the intercom, and I'm looking over to where my manager is with the guy, and I'm like, oh my God. And I was so happy to see her, and I was like, he's right there. And I was like, please don't drive around. And she was like, don't worry, I'm not going to drive around. So she takes out her piece, and she's like, I'm going to come around. So I was like, oh my God, we're saved. No, we're not saved. So the whole situation turned into the Wild Wild West once again, because lo and behold, came the male cop. So the male cop not only is driving like a maniac, zooms into the branch area, circles the bank, and not only circles the bank, but squeals his tires all the way around the bank. And mind you, there are windows all the way across. So I thought we were dead. I thought the guy had seen her, and I know he had to have seen the male cop come in his car and squeal all the way around the bank. And I'm looking, the female cop was still by my window, and I was like, oh my God, no, tell him to stop. And I was just like, oh my God. So she's like, duck down. I couldn't duck down because I wanted to see what happened. So he comes around, and just like a guy on a horse, I don't know if you've seen Westerns, I've seen a lot of Westerns where the guy comes galloping in and then slides in with the horse. That's what he did with his car. And he just bursts out of the car, and gun drawn, goes into the bank, and immediately, just like this, he says, get on the ground. And I'm like, oh my God, because right then he could have had a gun. I was just expecting the worst, and I couldn't duck down, and I couldn't hide, and I could not look. So I was just standing there with my mouth open, just looking at all this happen. And so the guy was like, hey, okay. Thank God, you know, he gets up and he gets on the ground, and they're able to handcuff him. And of course, the female cop, what was she gonna do? She had to be his backup. So as he was entering, doing that, she was right behind him with her gun drawn, trying to make sure that everything was okay. And God, what an idiot, the biggest idiot ever. But anyway, so yeah, they got him, they handcuffed him, and they left. And what the story that he told my branch manager was that they had his family hostage, and he needed $50,000 from the bank, and he needed it in cash, and he needed it right then. And yeah, and come to find out that in the briefcase, so Madam Screams a Lot, I guess, kind of saved us, because there was a gun in his briefcase that he left outside when he first came in. Whew. So yeah, that's my second robbery that I've been through. That was just like unfreaking believable. And I'm glad that he didn't signal me out, but because I was signaled out in so many of the robberies I've been through. But that is the end of my story. I hope you enjoyed it. A sub equals some love. A like equals a hug. And if you have any comments, please leave them in the description box below. Good comment, bad comment, all comments welcome. And until my next video.